Welcome back everyone, it's your boy Cool Kid Croc here, and today I'm going to be making a video talking about the rise and fall of physical video game media. Now, it wasn't very long ago, once upon a time, in a very more dark and less developed world. It was actually the 1960s. It wasn't a horrible time. I mean, people figured out how to bring the stripper pole back into their own homes. That way they don't have to go to a club to do so. But we were still figuring out video games and very far behind on those. When video games first did start to pop up, we'd see simple titles, stuff like Asteroids or Space Invaders, and then slowly throughout the years we'd move on to new things like Pac-Man and Donkey Kong. And arcades were pretty fucking dope. I mean, even the kids in my generation and age group, they just liked the idea of arcades, but they had many drawbacks to them. Other than that, the arcade market would mainly crash because video game consoles started to appear in people's homes. No longer did you have to go to a fucking arcade, wait behind some sweaty dude killing it on Dance Dance Revolution just to play him. You can now get a console within time and just plug it in. With this, gaming would evolve both its graphics and the gameplay in general and how games were formulated and structured. But aside from that, the physical media that we would get these games with started to change. Arcades were able to have arcade cabinets and the whole setup with all the lights and photos and really give you that whole package. Now games had to do it in their own way, so in came the physical game case. But when it came to having these games inside of your home, people would slowly learn that proper storaging and packaging would be a must-have if you're going to actually have them in your home. Originally there was cartridges, these giant creatures that look like a slice of bread, but as time moved on we eventually got to these smaller cartridges like the Nintendo DS and Nintendo Switch. They're the size of a fucking tab of acid. There's a huge difference between a lot of games, say from a Nintendo Switch to the DS, and that's mainly just the game cases. While it used to seem like a lot of these game cases were well thought out or tried to sell the game to you, a lot of the game cases we get nowadays just seem like the game's already sold to you, or if anything, it's definitely not selling you off of a giant warranty printed onto the cover of the game. A good example is a classic game from the PlayStation 2 era, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. When this game came out, everybody seemed to love it. It was critically acclaimed, just a fucking banger. But on top of the game being a fucking great game, you also got a poster along with that game. Another game, Sly Cooper 3. This game came with its own 3D glasses that you could put on. When you put the game into 3D mode, the game would switch over to black and white, making it basically fucking horrible to look at for anyone else that was watching. But if you had the dope ass 90s blue and red little glasses that you could put on, then you could see the game in, well, basically like 3D for early 2000s. Alright, aside from that just being like a pretty cool memory or just a thing to remember when getting a game, it was also just a great distraction. If your parents are watching you game, just throw on the 3D mode. Go get the fuck out of there. You can go back on San Andreas, hit the strip clubs. The amount of value that you'd get from these extra products that was put into the game made it seem like it was fucking amazing. I mean, we had games that would give you posters, stickers, fucking condoms. Now, we flash forward to the next generation of games. Right now, what do we get? We barely get a fucking manual inside of any of the games. You don't even get a manual telling you how to play. Now, the reason for that is mainly just because, why, how do you need a manual? I mean, you can look up all the information you need for the game online. And while that is very true, it does take away from the game overall. Opening a game case to see not only a game, but a nice looking manual pamphlet to go through, as well as maybe some extra goodies like Disgaea D2 gave an extra soundtrack and a little art card that you could hang up. That game did release with a collector's edition, but these extra little goodies were included within the game case. Now the problem is that this trend really only died off recently. I mean, we can get collector's editions for usually $40 to $50 extra than the normal game value, which include a little knick-knack or two. And honestly, I think no one really cares because it's like, well, why the fuck should you? If you can just go online and see it anyways, then there's no point. I mean, most people would never touch the game manual in their life or ever look at it unless they're fucking bored out of their mind. Some of these game manuals, though, were actually done really well. If you take, for example, Disgaea 2, not Disgaea D2, the one I talked about earlier, this is a different one. In this one, the manual has all these different characters laid out where you can see their age and a little bio about them. Pretty cool. Then you go on throughout the book and you see other things about the game. It tells you all about the mechanics of the game. It's a solid fucking manual. Another one that pops to mind is Dead Rising 2's manual. I remember that one specifically had different portraits of all the characters in the game that were main storyline, and different information on them, like biographies. And while this information was awesome to get, it just seems like nowadays you can just get a lot of it off of like a wiki or just searching it up on Google, which honestly is more convenient but does take a lot of the magic out of it. When you would go to a game store and pick up a random game that you had no idea about, you'd be judging it all off of the cover of a game and then the back of a game. Then as you're waiting, as your fucking guardian takes her sweet ass time to get home, and you're sitting in the car for like a couple hours, you're looking through the game manual, you're learning about the game before you're even into it. Now it's like when you buy a new game on a current console, if it comes with a little pamphlet that tells you about a game that's coming out in 2021, it's like, holy shit, I can't believe they threw this in here. This must have cost like an extra 4 cents to make. You know, that little card isn't worth anything, but seeing as you barely even get a game with some of them just give you a download code. It is pretty nice when you do get that little bonus thrown in, but it is a constant reminder and slap of like, wow, you know, you're getting hyped over a little pamphlet or a little piece of paper, a little piece of history instead of getting a manual, a poster, fucking condom. While PlayStation, Nintendo, and even sites on PC like Steam, they've all been growing for digital libraries and pushing it. We're now seeing even just digital codes being sold instead of games. It just really makes me think that physical games are definitely fading as we go. And while the whole argument of which is better, physical or digital, is pretty valid, that really just depends on who you are and how you usually handle gaming. The only downside is, though, say if you have a physical collection, yeah, it can get stolen or it can get ruined, damaged. But if you have a digital collection, we've seen things like the Nintendo Wii shop be closed, so you can't download any of the games that you bought on that service. And while we do own these games technically through our accounts, the games are more or less just owned by the companies themselves still. Yeah, we own the accounts, but the company can take the account or terminate it at any time. They can shut down the entire service. And to top it off, we've also just seen the rise of digital-only consoles. Gaming consoles that you must download games onto and you can't play any discs on them. While these are a more affordable option, you might end up paying more in the long run because you don't have the option to either buy used games or maybe sell your ones that you don't want anymore. The point of this video, though, isn't to discuss which is better, physical or digital. It is just to talk about what I think is impacting why we aren't getting, say, things like manuals or all these extra little stuff that we used to get in games, say, 10 or 20 years ago. You know, it's the same thing with books, movies, and even music. People still do like to collect those things or have a physical media, but it's definitely being pushed more and more away as we go on with technology. But I just wanted to talk about that for video games because that's what I know the most about. Either way though, if you liked this video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe, turn on notifications. I got more content on my channel if you want to check that out, and you can join my Discord or follow me on Twitter to find out whenever I'm uploading. Either way though, let me know what you guys thought of this topic in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.